Hey, I just wanted to go over some basic brush stuff real quick since you had some questions. So real quick, to get it out of the way, you don't need Windsor Newton brushes. They're kind of a flex. They're really nice if you're used to using brushes. The big thing about a Windsor Newton is that you're basically investing in a nice brush because when you buy these simpler ones, which this is a Princeton, it's a synthetic watercolor brush, and you can get this at Michael's, and that's what I would recommend you start with. As long as you take care of them and clean them after you use them with ink, which I'll get into in a sec, you'll keep the shape for a while. What I mean by that is over time you lose a bit of the flex and springiness in the actual fibers of the brush itself. And the thing about sable is it just for whatever reason, it being a natural material, it just has that spring longer as long as you take care of it. But you don't need that pressure. You don't need to spend all that money on it. You're just experimenting and you're trying to figure things out. So I'd start with a Princeton. This is a number two, which probably is where you want to start. Now, Paul, my mentor, who you probably know, Pope, he uses a 000, which you can even barely see that, I think. It is so small. This is for like really detailed work. I love using 000 still, but it's not really feasible for most people. I think that you might try a number two. This is a number two sable that I haven't actually used yet. But number two is a good size to just kind of get started with. It lets you do a little bit of detail, lets you load the brush up and have to go back and forth so many times like the 000. And it's a little bit more handleable. Another option that I highly recommend are using brush pens. These are pretty great. You can get these at Michael's too now, since people are interested in this stuff. They started carrying these items in the past few years. Didn't always be that way 20 years ago. These are great for carrying around. I really think that you should, because in order to get that practice in the 1,000 ink drawings, you don't want to put the pressure on yourself every time you sit down. You want to be able to play around, have fun. So carry around something like this for a sketchbook and sketch all the time. When I was working a full-time job before I got into art full-time, I would take my breaks from work and I'd have a brush pen with me and I would do sketches. I would draw people that were out in the coffee shop because I was a Starbucks store manager at the time, and just draw whatever was in front of me and practice, because it's really just about repetition. Chop wood, carry water. That's what the brush is. It's a master's tool for a lot of reasons. So there's those, and then you can get disposable brush pens from Pilot and Pentel. Pentel makes a pretty decent pocket. I think it's just called the pocket brush pen. You can get these at Michael's too. And they have reloadable cartridges that you can put in there. So these are great to carry around in a bag or even in your pocket because they don't really leak. And then as far as the real brushes go and cleaning them, I recommend just getting some of the Masters brush cleaner. You can get that at Michael's too. It's basically just soap. And you just get this wet. You run the brush along the grain. So like this. You don't, smush your fibers in. And just get it wet. Just kind of like rinse it, move it around, rub it in, like actually rub it into the fibers, rinse it, wash, I mean, literally wash, rinse, repeat until you can get the bulk of the ink out. You're not going to get it perfect, to be honest with you. There's going to always be a little bit of lingering down there at the bottom, but you do the best you can. And it's not going to really affect the brush too much, especially at the beginning. Don't put that pressure on yourself. As far as paper goes, my preference is a smooth Bristol. It doesn't fight the brush as much. It lets you kind of just do your thing. And remember, it's not about this motion with a pencil, with a brush. A brush is swooping gestures. You really want to initiate the movement with your shoulder. And like I said in the comments in the Discord, it's more about your wrist and your hand riding the lightning with your shoulder. And then at the end, you're maybe doing a little bit of a flourish of some kind. But just practice. Do the line thing over and over. Try to be as uniform as possible. Try to be as consistent, and just play. Have fun. It's gonna be a long journey. I thought I could do 1,000 ink drawings in a year. I think I was at 300 after 5. So just look at the 1,000 ink drawings not as a albatross around your neck. Look at the 1,000 ink drawings as just you know, the challenge that you have to get through one at a time. Like you're splitting wood. You're just going out. Your job isn't to be great. Your job is to get through 1,000 ink drawings, if that makes sense.